Hello, welcome back to another episode of Charla Football. And my God, do we have so much to unpack? I mean, so much went down this weekend in the Premier League, in La Liga Mexicana. So, of course, we have to talk about it. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys follow, subscribe, like this video, check out all our other platform links that will be in the description down below. But yeah, let's just take it away with Arsenal versus Brighton in the Premier League, a game between third and second place. Technically, temporarily, it's the beginning of the season, but Arsenal, man, Arsenal had the perfect chance to go atop of the Premier League and to really consolidate themselves and show they are not a force to be reckoned with. But unfortunately, Arsenal could have done so much more, and due to honestly a stupid mistake from Declan Rice. I mean, he should have done so much better in a situation where he just kind of flicks the ball, whether it was on purpose or not. Even he said that it is a red card by the rules. But if we're going by the rules, Joao Pedro probably should have gotten at least a card, and he did get a second. He would have gotten a second yellow card and probably a send off as well for dissent in the second half. But anyways, the referee mistakes aren't really the point I really wanted to talk about. The point that I wanted to bring up is the fact that Arsenal had their chance and they let it escape, because in a title race where Man City are going to most likely reach as close as they can to 100 points in a season, you cannot afford to slip up in games like these. These are dangerous games for Arsenal. And from an Arsenal perspective, at least Kai Havertz is scoring, right? You want your star striker to be scoring goals. And he got his goal today. Unfortunately, just wasn't enough because I mean, Arsenal team were just. I think they're too lackluster. They're missing a little bit of spark, and especially once Declan Rice got that send off. I mean, obviously, there's not much you can do, and I don't think they prepared to go 10 men down against Brighton. An even game, I think it was a 1-1 draw is fair, but Brighton probably should have came out on top on that one. Leicester versus Villa. Now, this was an interesting game just because Jamie Vardy playing against an Aston Villa team that are flying right now. Honestly, I think they haven't lost a game at all. Onana gets his goal. Bunanot gets his goal as well, the young Argentinian, 19-year-old Argentina, ex-Brighton boy as well. There was a little slight contact inside of the box towards the final minutes of the match. Vardy gets taken down, but he was slightly offside. So, I mean, it would have been an interesting game if they were able to get that penalty, draw it 2-2, but they deserved the win at least. Like I said, they're one of the best teams in the league from what I've seen so far. At least one of my favorite teams to watch for sure. They did lose, I think, last week to Arsenal, but I mean, they're one of the title contenders. I'm not putting Villa as title contenders, but Villa are definitely strong contenders to fight for European spots once again, as well as playing in European spots, seeing how they do in the Champions League. But overall, not too bad from a Villa standpoint. I think the most concerning part from a Villa standpoint is the fact that your star striker in Ollie Watkins isn't scoring. He's gone 3 games without a goal. I mean, after having a breakout season, honestly, last year, he had like what 19 goals, something like that, throughout the season. And right now, he really hasn't gotten himself on the mark. Hasn't really shown up. He's missed some pretty easy chances in my eyes, easy from someone that's not a professional player. But yeah, he could be doing a lot more. He should be doing a lot more. But someone that is really stepping up is the Colombian John Duran, who subbed on for Ollie Watkins, and he put the 2-1 up for Villa, and they get the 3 points. And I think that's all that matters the most, whether the performance was great or not. Villa get the 3 points, and Ollie Watkins, step it up, bro, because Aston Villa needs you, especially when the Champions League comes calling. West Ham versus City, the game that everyone was looking forward to, because everybody wants to see Erling Haaland, what he can do. Everybody wants to watch his Manchester City team, see how they perform, and they haven't skipped a beat, honestly. I mean, they're looking like they're gonna, like I predicted it earlier in the season, that they're gonna win the title and they're gonna hit some record numbers in the table, and Erling Haaland as well. I mean, you guys let me know. Firstly, before I get into any part of the game, do you guys feel that Erling Haaland can break his record number of most goals scored in a Premier League season? Because honestly, I think he can, bro. I think the record right now that he's holding is at 36. So he has to get better than 36 goals in a season. And the way he's starting, bro, I mean, there's no one that can stop him. And keep in mind that last year he wasn't fit. I think he was out for quite some time, whether it was a few weeks, a month, or 2. I don't quite remember off the top of my head right now. But if they can keep him healthy, I mean, dude, he can score some crazy numbers. I think he can easily get 40 goals in the season. So let me know if you guys think he will hit 40 goals, if he will get under 36 or more than 36. Please let me know because I want to find out what other people are thinking about Erling Haaland. Because, like I said, this is the game that everybody was paying attention to. It was the big game of the weekend. West Ham, a very exciting team. They made a tremendous amount of signings and quality signings at that, too. Edson Alvarez got the start too, someone that defensively is the rock of this West Ham team, whether some people like that or not. He's coming back from injury. And of course, I'm going to say that because he's my Mexican brother. I got to shout him out. But you see the difference in quality defensively. Even though, I mean, when you're playing against City, there's not much you can do defensively. But Edson Alvarez, when he came off, I think they looked a little weaker, and the goal definitely the third goal, specifically that third goal. I think if Alvarez was on the pitch, they wouldn't have scored that, and maybe could have, I mean, controlled the damage a little bit. But overall, like I said, I just want to talk about Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland, some of these stats are just insane. I mean, listen to some of these things, like 69 goals in 69 Premier League matches is insane. A goal every single game. No, I don't. I've never heard numbers like this ever. So if he continues at this rate, he will break the Premier League goal scoring record set by Alan Shearer across 14 seasons. And bro, it's only going to take him 6 seasons to break that record. So if he keeps it up very well, like I said, 6 seasons, it's over, and he's going to be the best goal scorer. I think he's probably is the best goal scorer that the Premier League has ever seen. So around March 2029, we got to check back in on that day, see if he broke the record, if he's still at City around that time. But I mean, he got his hat trick today too, and in the same stadium where he got his first and second goal ever for Man City, he gets a hat trick. I mean, the script just writes itself at this point. 24th club and country hat trick as well. And I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter and on Instagram as well. He had his match ball, and I guess they have this tradition of signing the match ball over there at Man City. And even people were saying, like, fuck off, like, I'm tired of writing on your match balls, because that's how often he does it. He just had a hat trick, I think, last week against, who did they play last week when he scored three? Off the top of my head, I don't remember, but he just had a hat trick last weekend as well. So, I mean, like I said, there's no one that can stop this guy except Edson Alvarez, but that's a topic for another time. Let's go to Chelsea versus Crystal Palace, the match this morning that I really wanted to tune into because, I mean, they're both very exciting teams, to be honest. Madueke, Palmer, Jackson putting up the 1-0 for Chelsea, and Chelsea were flying. They honestly had the best opportunities. They looked like they had a little bit more connection, and they picked up where they left off against Wolves last week, or during the week, because, I mean, what they did to Wolves picked them apart. I think, what was it, like 6-2 or something like that? And Madueke got a hat trick. Palmer also got his goal. So, of course, today Jackson had to get in on that action as well. And I think that's his first Premier League goal of the season. So good for him. Crystal Palace, they had their moments. I mean, the one that obviously stands out is the 1-1 where I think Doucouré takes a shot. It's blocked by Fofana. It falls to Eze, who curls it past Robert Sanchez. I mean, it was a beautiful strike, delicious strike. Didn't necessarily go to top corner, but I mean, no keeper saving that from that distance specifically. Robert Sanchez, who is yet to keep a Premier League clean sheet this season with Chelsea. So I'm sure he's wishing he can probably get at least a clean sheet at some part of the season. But it's very difficult in a team like Chelsea where they're just so inconsistent right now. They have one win, one draw, one loss. So anything can happen with this Chelsea team, really, because at moments they have that spark, they have brilliance, they have players that can change the game. But at the same time, I think, I mean, and you have to be extremely consistent in the Premier League if you want to win the title. And I think that's the thing that's going to harm them the most is the inconsistency. So I want to pose this question, see what you guys think. Please let me know in the comments down below. Do you feel that Chelsea will finish better than how they did with Mauricio Pochettino last season? Last season they got sixth, I believe. So do you think they can hit sixth again, below sixth, maybe even hit fifth or fourth and get those UEFA Champions League spots? Please let me know. I didn't have them in the top six at all. I think I put them not even in top seven, maybe seventh or eighth place. But I don't think they will progress under Maresca. I mean, they really should have kept Mauricio Pochettino. That's just my opinion. But hey, at least with the US got him, I'm happy because I'm half American, half I was born here, so I'll take that on my end. Now moving to St. James's Park, Newcastle versus Tottenham, 2-1, and a game that honestly it was all Tottenham. Tottenham deserved to win, but in typical Tottenham fashion, they're just unlucky. I mean, there's no other way you can put it or sugarcoat it. They're probably the unluckiest team in the Premier League with Arsenal because they have they have talent, they have a good coach, but honestly, I don't know what it is at this point. I think someone did some brujeria on them because really just nothing falls their way. They had the best chances, they had the possession, they played, I mean, so much better and so much more pleasing on the eyes compared to Newcastle. But Newcastle, they were just clinical on the day. The moment that really stood out to me was this high line that Tottenham plays. I mean, dude, it's a fucking headache. And I understand that Postecoglou has this idea of how he wants to play football, and he's not going to change, and that's fine. But in the Premier League, you have to be able to adapt because if not, you're going to get cut through like in no other league, especially with at the volume that these teams play. And I mean, when you have a clinical striker like Isak up top, when you have Murphy running in from the right, Anthony Gordon as well, he's a very talented winger, very young, talented winger. I mean, it's just too risky to play a high line against guys like these because they can cut you apart real quick, and that's exactly what they did in that second goal. Guti Dragusin, not the fastest center backs, and positionally Udogi was just gone. Really, he was just chasing butterflies at that point. I don't know what he was trying to do, but into Murphy, who is pretty quick, and you saw what he did in that play. He squares it right into Isak, who has an open net, and Isak's not going to finish. He's one of the best strikers in the league, and I mean he's going to put up some good numbers this season as well. As is off the top of my mind, I would hope. And I'm actually surprised. I was looking back at my predictions from earlier a few weeks ago, and I'm surprised I didn't put Newcastle to even hit top four, top six. I didn't even have them. I think in seventh. I think it really depends on their consistency. Last year they kind of fell off. The year before when they got Champions League spots, they were doing well. They flew, but we'll see how they do this season. Let you guys let me know. Are you underestimating Newcastle the same way I did and I am? Do you feel like they can hit European spots, especially being the fact that they haven't lost a game so far? And yes, it is the beginning of the season, but they're pretty convincing so far. So let's see how they do. Now, a team that necessarily has not convinced me, and a team that has convinced me is Liverpool. I have Liverpool fighting with Man City for the Premier League. I have them as my favorite to finish second, right under City, unless Liverpool can beat them in one of those head-to-head matches. Then I think Liverpool will run away with the league. But in a game where they faced off against Manchester United at Old Trafford, I mean, we've seen the scorelines of games previously, right? 5-0. I think there was a 7-0. There was a 4-0 and today was 3-0. And I mean, Manchester United fans cannot catch a break. And if it hurts, honestly, it hurts to see such a grand institution like Manchester United, to see them hurting, to see the fans hurting. You know, when they're doing well, they are one of the best teams to watch in the league, especially given the environment that they provide in the spectacle of the game, right? But unfortunately, today wasn't their day, and Manchester United have lost three of their last Premier League home games against Liverpool. So, I mean, like I said, they just cannot catch a break. Manchester United lost two of the first three matches in the Premier League campaign for the third time in the last 5 seasons, bro. In 2021, 22, 23, and Eric Ten Hag is the only manager to suffer that fate twice. I mean, it just doesn't get any better for Eric Ten Hag, and I don't know. I'm not going to say he should be in or out. That's really the numbers speak for themselves right now. And right now, he's not putting up good numbers. They started off strong with the win against Fulham. They lost against Brighton in the very last minute. They looked really shaky at the back. And then today, I mean, Liverpool were just all over them. And I understand that Liverpool are title contenders. To be honest, in my eyes, the way they play football right now, from what I saw from them in the preseason, they have convinced me enough that they're a scary team to play against. Luis Diaz is off to an amazing start. I think he grew so much in the summer break, especially boosting his confidence with that run for Colombia and the Copa America. I think that definitely helped him a lot. He's not getting any younger. I think he's approaching 29, 30 years old. So he's hitting those prime years where he really needs to step up, and he has under Arne Slot. Diogo Jota as well, Mohamed Salah, like he's already stated, it's his last year as a Liverpool player, and I don't think that's going to change. So he's going to give it all. these players are ready to give it all, and I mean they have the ability to do so. Now going back to Manchester United, bro, it sucks to see a player like Carlos Casemiro, who is honestly a legend of the game. We know what he's capable of. We saw, I mean, that legendary trio, right, of Tony, Cruz, Modric, and Casemiro. I mean, like I said, he's a legend of the game. You can't disrespect him off of that. But I mean, you have to understand and know as a player when it's time to maybe. I'm not saying hang up your boots or nothing like that. We know that he has quality. We saw against Fulham, he played quite well. But there's got to be those moments where, at least from a coaching perspective, you have to give him some rest. And I think that's the reasoning behind the signing of Manuel Ugarte. He's the perfect signing for Casemiro. Obviously, not a like for like profile in the sense that I think Casemiro offers you a lot more tactically than Ugarte, but at least someone similar. Where I mean, Uruguayos right there, they have grit, they have passion, and I think Ugarte would definitely put that at least into the game. And like I said, for Casemiro, it was not a good display for him. He lost possession 13 times, and with two of those errors directly leading to the goals for Manchester United. And honestly, all over the midfield, it was just a mess for Manchester. Even the star boy Kobe Mainu, he got bodied off the ball. I forgot by who, but that also led to a goal. Onana wasn't really in the right spot where he should have been to make a save as well. But I mean, Liverpool are flying right now. They haven't lost a game. They haven't even conceded. So 3-0. It was all smiles from the Liverpool bench. I don't think they suffered that much in the game throughout at all, honestly. So I think their preparation, their intensity, their work ethic is the best in the league. I haven't seen a team that really can dominate a game besides Manchester City and have that certain fear factor in them as well. And I think Liverpool, it's just something about them that they're scary to play against. Arne Slot, he becomes the first manager since 1963 to win in Old Trafford in his debut at Old Trafford. So kudos to him. He's done an exceptional job at Liverpool, and I think they're sitting second place, tied in points with City. So they're like I said, so far my predictions are pretty much on point. So that kind of wraps up Premier League for me. I mean, I'm sure there was a few more games that I'm missing out, but those were the big matchups. I mean, one that I didn't even do notes on or really like research. I watched the game because of a certain player, but Bournemouth versus Everton. I mean, what a match, right? Everton up 2-0, and in Everton fashion, they slip up in the last, what is it, like 5 minutes of the game, 5-10 minutes. Like you're up 2-0, bro. And I understand that 2-0 is one of the results that are most dangerous results, I guess you could say. Because once the opponent gets that first goal, then momentum shifts. And that's exactly what happened in Bournemouth's perspective. They got the first goal in the 87th minute, second goal around the 90th, and then the last minute winner, bro. The whole stadium went wild. There was videos of some of the fans reacting. You would have thought that they won the Champions League by the way they were reacting. And I mean, kudos to them. But I'm not gonna get too deep into the game itself. Everton fans do better. I know they were talking shit to some of their players, and well, I understand the frustration. It's not really going to help the confidence of the players. You need to be able to support them in difficult times like this. But that's just my perspective. That's my opinion. Now, moving to La Liga, where things aren't as it seems. It's really weird, right? A situation where Barcelona, we're going to start with that game. Barcelona versus Real Valladolid. Barcelona have their drama off the field, and where everybody understands and knows their financial struggles. While they have all these problems in the back room, on the field, it's speaking for itself. Biggest financial investment that they spent on, besides being Dani Olmo, literally, he's the most expensive player of this transfer window. Probably the only player they bought in this transfer window. The fact of bringing in a guy like Hansi Flick, who is just he's brought something so different to this Barcelona team. Is the biggest Barca win since 2016, since the MSN days. They won 7-0 against Real Valladolid. 7-0. I don't remember seeing a match where they win 7-0 in years. Honestly, it's been years, and they're flying in the league so far. It's 10 out of 10. They're perfect in the league. They have what, 9? They've had 9 points out of 9 going into this match against Valladolid. Now they have 12 out of 12 with the goal differential of plus 10, I believe, and they have a separation between them and Madrid of like 4 points. So, bro, they are doing everything that they have to do, really. And especially when Madrid start clicking, it's not a matter if, but when Madrid start clicking, is going to be very difficult. So you got to take advantage of these points that they're dropping right now. And Barcelona are doing just that. A Valladolid team that started the league in a mixed manner as well. They had one win, one draw, one loss. Um, but Barcelona didn't care. They picked them apart from the very first moment up until the last moment. And I'm not going to go into every single goal that happened in this game, but I'm going to talk about some of these players. The main one I wanted to highlight, and it's a player that unfortunately has gotten so much stake, especially going into the summer. People wanted to sell him, so they were like, send him to Saudi Arabia, send him to I don't know, whoever, wherever else in the world, but they did not want him at Barcelona. They were ready to sell him. I think even Barcelona had listed them in the transfer market. But Rafinha shutting up the haters under this new system with Flick, he's thriving. On the left hand side, he looks like a completely different player. He can cut in, he can cross, he has the lungs of a swimmer. I mean, bro, he's fucking insane the way he can press and move for 90 minutes with no hesitation, no problem. He gives it all on the pitch. And that's one of the biggest things that I think Barcelona fans have always seen, but they never really, I don't think they appreciated the way they're seeing it now. And I think it's under this new Flick system where all the players are doing something similar that I think he really stands out the most. But Rafinha, like I said, he got his hat trick, and it becomes the quickest hat trick in a season since Leo Messi. So I'm not trying to compare him to Leo Messi, right? But the fact that he's putting up numbers like a Leo Messi in a game, I understand it's against Valladolid, but I mean, teams like this in previous seasons, Barcelona have struggled against oppositions where that are fighting relegation have given Barcelona a tough time. I remember just last season, I think they lost or tied to Almeria, who had not won a game. I don't think they won a game throughout the league. So the fact that now it looks like they're really stepping up, and Valladolid aren't necessarily an easy team. And you can ask Real Madrid last week. It took them over an hour to break through this Real Valladolid defense, and it came from a deflection from a free kick. So Barcelona, obviously, they put the work in where it matters the most in training, in the physicality of the team, and the ones that are benefiting the most are the strikers. The forwards and Lewandowski and Rafinha and Yamal, and now Dani Olmo, who's coming to the team flying, hasn't looked like he needs a period of time to adjust. He really doesn't need it. And going back to Rafinha, the player that I want to highlight the most, like I said, there was so much stick in the media about trying to get rid of him, from fans trying to get rid of him, and I think he deserves the most praise because I mean he wasn't even called up in this recent window to the Brazilian national team, and I mean I'm sure he's just shutting everybody up. With this performance, people are going to take him more seriously, and to think that he himself and Neymar are the only Brazilians to score a hat trick and assist in a single La Liga game this century, it's insane to see. Like I said, he's putting up numbers that Messi did, putting up numbers that Neymar now have done. And I mean, what else can you say about Rafinha? I mean, it's fun to watch him, and he's putting in effort that it's always been there. But talking about some other players like Lamine Yamal, like Dani Olmo, even Ferran Torres getting on the fucking score sheet. Ferran Torres, right? So he's been scrutinized heavily by fans because of his performances on the left hand side. But we see that he really thrives down the middle as a striker, and he had a wonderful finish as well. Now, going to Lamine Yamal is the other player that I wanted to highlight because why wouldn't I? He's 17 years old, and I will keep highlighting this until he has a bad game. But even then, he's probably going to end with double digit numbers. I mean, the way he's performing, what is his ceiling this season? Is there a ceiling this season? Because at this rate, he can, like I said, he could put up double digit numbers in goals and assists at 17 years old in his first full season in Barcelona. Bro, he hasn't stopped assisting or scoring since the Euros. He's been on a consecutive run of goals and assists every single match, goal or assist every single match. And that's the greatest consistency that I've seen from a player since Leo Messi, honestly. And it's not even to compare him, but it's just statistically speaking, right now, he's the first Barcelona player to register a goal and assist in 4 consecutive opening La Liga matches since Leo Messi, literally since the 2014 season. So Barcelona, honestly, they're just rolling back the years with this performance, playing penetrative passes through Valladolid, quick play, ruthlessness, I think is the fact that needs to be highlighted. They have become ruthless, and there's a lot of passiveness that we've seen from this Barcelona team for years, honestly, for the past like 4 to 5 years, they're happy with 2-1 result or 1-0 result that we've been seeing for the past 10 years under Xavi. But under Hansi Flick, we already know that that's his play style. I mean, he even did it to Barcelona back in 2020 in the COVID time, beating them 8-2. And the expression is in his face is the meme of it all, where he doesn't seem like it's enough for him. And the same thing happened at the 7-0. He looked emotionless. He wanted the team probably to score 10 if they could, to be able to convert every single chance that they have. And they almost did that. So overall, I wanted to pose the question, are Barcelona that good, or were Valladolid just so poor? So you guys let me know down in the comments down below. Um, Going to a team that have been struggling in Atletico. You expect them with all the signings that they've acquired throughout the summer. Under Cholo Simeone, you expect them to put up better performances, and it wasn't the case today against Athletic Bilbao. And we know Athletic Bilbao is not an easy team to play against with star players, and they have grit and passion, especially in the Basque Country in San Mamés. It's a very difficult stadium to play against. You literally suffocate in that kind of stadium. But I mean, that's kind of what happened with Atletico. Even though they did get the result 1-0, no Sorloth from the start, which was really surprising. I think they need a player like Sorloth up top, even though he's been missing, but it's not gonna do him any good confidence wise. Because I mean, if I'm Sorloth right now, I'm probably thinking, why'd I leave? Everything was great at Villarreal. Alvarez and Griezmann did start up top for Atleti, but they didn't do anything, and it sucks to see because Griezmann, one of the best players, one of the most underrated players probably of the past decade or so, and Alvarez, who is a prospect. I mean, is he even considered a prospect? He's won everything in football. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is that Atletico, they haven't been cooking, bro. They honestly have not been cooking with all the signings that they brought in. You would expect them to be balling up. You would expect them to put on better performances, to be beating teams 2-3-0 convincingly. But that's not the case. Right now, they are extremely unconvincing. Um, and the fact that not Antoine Griezmann, not Julian Alvarez, not Sorloth or Conor Gallagher, none of these star players are coming in and changing the game. But the fact that Angel Correa, a player that Cholo Simeone always relies to get a result, um, he got the result for Atleti today in typical Diego Simeone fashion, winning 1-0 and then defend, defend, defend. That's what we saw today. So I don't know exactly what to expect from Atletico Madrid moving into the rest of the season, but I hope it gets better for them because I want to see Atletico compete, not just get scraped by games, but I want to see them compete. And another result I have to throw in there is a Sevilla versus Girona, a Girona team that they're flying. They've kept up the same rhythm so far that they left off with last season, and they're going to be facing through a lot of adversity this year. The fact that a lot of their star players are gone, and the fact that they're going to be playing European football in the Champions League against some very difficult opponents, they're going to need all the help they can get from the fans, from neutrals, and from their squad overall. And while it's not the most star-studded squad, what Michel has done and what he will continue to do and what he's proven to do so far at this beginning of the season is honestly something amazing to see. The fact that they went to the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan and got a result, and not just any result, but a convincing 2-0. And while they weren't the best team on the park, I think Sevilla were the better team. They're just unlucky. And you need a stroke of luck when it comes to the league, when it comes to getting wins. And Sevilla just, they don't have that right now. Under Garcia Pimienta, they haven't picked up a win at all this season in the 4 games played. And now losing to Girona 2-0 is just, it's not looking good for Sevilla, a team that you typically expect to be fighting for European spots, to be winning Europa League. Now, I mean, maybe they might even be fighting relegation. So overall, it's just a mess from a Sevilla standpoint. But going to Girona, a team that is in the mouth of everybody right now, given what they did last season, will Girona have enough to compete for La Liga this year in the sense of getting in those top 4 spots, European spots, really, and fight for Europe as well in the Champions League? So I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that it's going to be a good season for Girona or a bad season? I didn't have them making top 4 on my end. I think I had Bilbao sneaking in there just because of the profiles that they have. But I mean, this is a very well worked Girona team under Michel, so they can very well go anyway. Honestly, it's going to be very difficult to see who gets that 4th spot. Real Madrid versus Betis, who today Real Madrid got the win, and in another unconvincing fashion. And we're starting to notice this trend with Madrid right now, specifically in the league, where there's just so many little issues. It's not necessarily anything crazy to worry about if you're a Madrid fan, but I think Ancelotti is the one that's worrying the most, definitely, because you can see it in his face. You see that he wants to do something, but he doesn't know the answers to it quite yet. And I think with this international break, he's going to be able to figure it out. The fact that Tony Cruz is gone is just a big hit on this Madrid team that have only won one of their last 7 home La Liga matches against Betis. So it was going to be a difficult opponent. It was going to be a difficult match, and it proved to be that so far. And it took them over an hour, just like it did last week against Valladolid, or during the week against Valladolid, to break through them. It took over an hour, and it happened the exact same way today. The last time Real Madrid went 1 win in 3 matches was back 5 years ago when they won the league in 2019, 2020. So not necessarily all is bad. Like I said, they have the ability, given how long the season is, they have the ability to figure things out, and I think they will. Like I said earlier, it's not a matter of if but when, because once these star players start cooking, once they start clicking, I think it's pretty much over for most of the teams in La Liga. The real ones that are going to be fighting is Barcelona and Real Madrid. So those head-to-head matches and the Clásicos are going to be key for either one of these teams to run away with the league. But I don't know what it is with Vinny and Mbappe, bro. Because while Mbappe got his 2 goals and maybe the floodgates might start opening for him and that'll help him relax, there's just this lack of chemistry or confidence between the two of them. They just can't seem to find each other right now. And I don't know if it's just a on the pitch thing. I mean, off field, we know it looks pretty good, right? I mean, I think Mbappe is good at man management. These players, I'm sure they are well behaved. They know how to act with one another. But throughout the match, Mbappe and throughout the past 3 games, Mbappe and Vinicius just have been so desperate. They look so desperate trying to find each other, trying to create that perfect pass. Even over Rodrigo at times too, even though I think he looks the best out of the front three. But especially Mbappe in this game, he just looks so desperate to score, trying to make something out of nothing, and it just doesn't come off right. So he needed to figure himself out, and eventually he did, and it took some sensational play from Valverde, who I think when he's in the final third, he can provide so much more. I think what just 2 seasons ago, Carlo Ancelotti said that he's the kind of player that can give you double-digit numbers in goals. I think he even bet with Valverde that he can hit more than 10 goals or 15 goals in a season. And Valverde is that kind of player. I don't think he's a Tony Cruz-esque replacement where he's going to be pinging balls from 60 yards out. It's not necessarily his role. He is a running machine, bro. He can get back and down, defend, but his best virtue is his attacking virtue, his olfato de gol. I mean, he can score, he can shoot from long range. You need to get him into the final third where he can really be dangerous, get some shots on target, and able to showcase his ability on the ball. And that's exactly what happened for Mbappe's first goal. A lovely flick almost a Guti-esque flick from Valverde into in the run of Mbappe, who was all by himself. All he needed to do was finish, and finish he did. And then the penalty came, and while it was controversial, it was marked a penalty. When we can discuss whether it was a penalty or not, but let me know. Let me know what you guys think down below if that was a penalty. Mbappe seemed to, Kylian, oh fuck, Vinicius seemed to leave his leg to get tackled, but the goalie still tripped him up. So I mean, it's just one of those where it's just hard to tell. Um, but Mbappe steps up, and which is kind of weird for me. I thought Vinicius would have stepped up. I know he was the one that got hurt during the foul, but I mean, I think Vinny is the penalty kick taker from what I understand, from what I've seen. But Mbappe, he steps up, converts his goal. He becomes the first Real Madrid player to score his first 2 goals in La Liga for Madrid in one game since Chicharito. So I just have to throw that in there. Like I said, I have to throw my Mexican blood in there. And I mean, he's a Real Madrid legend. I mean, his 1 season performance for Real Madrid, either coming off of the bench or starting matches. I mean, bro, like check out this stat right here, bro. Fucking Mbappe literally is the first Real Madrid player to score his first 2 goals for Madrid in one game. The last time it was Chicharito. So Mbappe is putting up legendary numbers, and Chicharito's still better. Sorry, that don't make the rules. But despite the result, despite the 2-0, again, like I said, it takes Madrid over an hour to get something, and they're missing that somebody in the middle of the park. While everybody can say it's an issue of balance up top, while I think part of that is the reason, I don't think it's the whole problem. I think the whole problem is trying to fix the hole that Tony Cruz left. And Chouameni isn't that player. He's a good player, but I don't think he's of Tony Cruz's statue or Camavinga's statue. The stature, not statue, stature. Camavinga is 10 times better than Chouameni, and unfortunately, he got injured in a match in I think training before the Super Cup. So he's not going to be back until I think that international break. So that's why I said I think Ancelotti really needs that time to figure out what he's going to do with Camavinga, what he's going to do with Chouameni, and I think once they get the like of Camavinga into the squad, they will definitely we'll start to see a different Real Madrid team because Valverde, like I said, he needs to push up a little bit. He needs to be in areas where he can really affect the game because in that end, bro, he's a monster. Now that kind of wraps up La Liga for me right now. Barcelona are the lone leader. Really, there's nothing else to discuss in there. Now let's go to Liga MX. Let's fly to North America, to Mexico. Let's go to the border specifically. Tijuana versus Leon in 2-1. And I want to highlight this match because I think in the grand scheme of the league table of La Liga, Tijuana are not a team to be to mess with because right now they are playing like prime Leon back in 2013, 2014. They outplayed Tijuana off the park with 9 Mexicans in the starting 11, and it's rare to see in Liga MX where a lot of the times they use a lot of extranjeros, and it's one of the downfalls of the league and what they're trying to change. And the fact they also used one kid, literal kid that's 15 years old, and Gilberto Mora. He's only 15 years and 10 months from the start, and being the third youngest player to debut and probably start as well, the youngest player to ever start and score in a match in Liga MX, creating history. I mean, what Juan Carlos Osorio is doing with this Tijuana team is just, it's wonders, bro. It's a miracle because Tijuana were fighting for so long to get into a position where they can be title contenders, be top of the table, and I mean, we haven't seen them lift the trophy. Their first ever trophy was the last time we saw them lift the trophy back in 2012, and that was around the same time they ascended when there was still promotion and relegation. So, I mean, like I said, what Juan Carlos Osorio is doing to this Tijuana team is just something to applaud because no one is doing what he's doing, and he's doing an exceptional job. Besides Gilberto Mora being one of the players I wanted to highlight, I think Efrain Alvarez is the second best player for Tijuana. 22 years old, left-footed, ex-LA Galaxy, plays on the right. He has a sensational touch in this play over the León defender. And with 6 Cholos players in the box, he created some separation between him and the 2 defenders he has on him. And he drives the ball into Christian Rivera, who touches it over his defender as well and finishes right in front. I think it was Andres Guardado that was literally in front of it. He finishes past the goalkeeper, gets the goal, and Tijuana are flying at this point. Leon get their goal. Even though they were 10 men down, they get their goal later on into the game. And then the winning goal, bro, I mean, it's just the script writes itself at this point. Gilberto Mora, the kid that debuts, gets his goal, gets the winning goal for his team, for Tijuana. And what a way to get your first goal of the season. I mean, a ball that's just bouncing in the box. Simple finish for his standards, from a professional player standards. I mean, you can't miss that. And that's exactly what he did. He slots it in, and I mean, I can only imagine how he felt in that moment, being so young and to score in his first professional start. I mean, it's just the script doesn't write itself, guys. I mean, this kid is no joke. There's a reason why he's being looked at by European clubs, and I think in a few years he's definitely a player that people have to look out for. Going back to both these players, Gilberto Mora, Efrain Alvarez, they're 2 important key players for Juan Carlos Osorio's system, and I don't think these players are going to be in Liga MX very long. I think hopefully that by the end of the season, Efrain Alvarez is off to a European team, get some more development out there, and Gilberto Mora, who knows, maybe he might leave to Europe in the summer as well, and next summer as well. So I guess we'll see how things roll out for them. I would love to see them move over to Europe, but that's a topic for a different video. Tijuana, top of the table. Can they compete for Liga MX is the real question. Because, like I said, they haven't been in a situation like this in a while. It's been 14 years since they won their first Liga MX title ever in the season where they were relegated, or the second season being relegated. I think it was just 18 months after ascending into the first division. A team that was ran by legendary guys like Turco Mohamed, El Neymar Ecuatoriano, Fidel Martinez, running the lines up top, a young Pablo Aguilar at the back, Fernando Arce and Christian Pellerano in the midfield pulling strings, and then Cirilio Saucedo, name that I completely forgot about up until researching all this stuff. I forgot that all these guys, they're actual legends for Club Tijuana, and they put Tijuana on the map, literally. So I hope all the best for Tijuana. I think they're an institution that deserves at least a few more titles under the belt. They're doing things well at least this season. So I would like to see a different player or a different team outside of the big six or the big four, however you want to call it in Liga MX. And one of those teams being Chivas, who faced off against Juarez, got their 5-0 victory. I don't think there's too many talking points in here besides the fact that a team full of Mexican players, some of them that are going to be called up, they all performed exceptionally well. Speaking about Piojo Alvarado, speaking about Alan Mozo, who gets up and down that wing like no problem, and offensively, the best right back in the league, no doubt. Piojo, so important to this team. And I mean, it's good for them that they get the 5-0 result again against Juarez, who definitely not one of the best teams in the league. But what to bang 5 goals against them, I don't remember a Chivas performance where they scored more than 3 goals. To be honest, it's been a while. So good for Chivas. They need that morale boost in difficult times, in times where it's so difficult to sign players, to find dual nats to bring in. That's why they brought Kate Cowell, who performed exceptionally well as well. So good performance overall from a Chivas standpoint. Now let's go to Nuevo León. Let's go to Monterrey, where they faced off against Toluca. Toluca visiting at the Estadio BBVA, and it's not an easy place to play against. Under De Michelis right now, Monterrey, they recently tied against Tijuana at the weekend, I believe, and now they lost against Toluca, and it's unfortunate for De Michelis. We know he's a good coach. What he did with River Plate, I believe he won them the league last year. This past season, I don't think they were doing too well with him, but he was trying to bring that experience into this team. Monterrey just signed, I think, the Sevilla player Lucas Ocampos. They have incredible signings all across the forward line with Oliver Torres, with Berterame. They have Sergio Canales. This is the player I was looking at. But the script writes itself, guys, and I'm gonna keep repeating that because there's there was that narrative going into this game. Gallardo playing against his ex team, where Gallardo was now playing for Toluca, and he was benched, if you want to see it, by Arteaga. Whereas Gallardo today, or on the day, he got his goal scoring against his ex team in the first 5 minutes of the match, and he had said previously, I think in a press conference, that if he scored, he wouldn't celebrate. And that's the first thing he did. He puts his arms up, he celebrates, having a good time. After the celebration, he calms down and is asking for forgiveness from the fans. But I mean, I can only imagine how good it felt, because he was essentially replaced by a European player that really didn't do much in Belgium under a Genk for the likes of Arteaga. But that's another conversation that we don't have to get into. And yeah, so Toluca were flying. They started off the game well. Now, from a Monterrey standpoint, bro, I mean, you have to be so frustrated with the like of Brandon Vasquez, who at the beginning of last season, he was in impeccable form. I think he had gotten like 7 goals at the beginning of the season. He was doing incredibly well, and everybody thought he was going to be the signing of the season, till it wasn't. Till he started missing goals. He even had probably the miss of the season against Toluca. I mean, he's just missing these clear-cut chances to tie the game in general, because I think he had at least like 2 or 3 where he could have tied the game, and it took a penalty finally for him to step up and score. And I mean, he puts it top right hand corner where no keeper's fucking ever gonna reach it. So to put it in, that takes a lot of skill and a lot of talent to do that. But fuck, man, I mean, you gave him 3-4 balls. He probably could have won the game himself, and shit, it took a penalty for them to finally get a goal. So it's unfortunate for Monterrey. I'm sure his teammates are probably so frustrated and just done with his shit. I would be too. I would be asking to play up top over him if I was in that team. But I mean, he's in for a reason. He could have won the game, had a hat trick, but he's just so inconsistent up front. And it's a similar situation that they saw against Monterrey, where they were up. I mean, Monterrey against Tijuana last week, they were up 2-1. They could have made it 3-4-1 and wrap up the game, but they didn't. The whole Tijuana end up tying the game and they drop points. And in the same situation here, where they tie the game, they could have gone up 2-1, maybe even 3-1, and they don't put the game away. They don't put the team, the opposition, to bed, and it comes back to haunt them. And Toluca, literally, the devil came out and they came out to play. They got their second goal in the dying moments of the game, where Monterrey's defense just looked like a shambles. They looked in shambles. They looked so silly, conceding from a goal kick. Seriously, at a professional level, bro, like that is elementary school shit. Honestly, that is elementary school. You cannot be doing that in the first division of football. Kicked from their own goal. Thiago Volpi kicks it into Paulinho's head, who flicks it onto the young 20-year-old Isaías Violante, finishes it beautifully. Good for Isaías Violante. He got his goal. But in the likes of the tying goal that could have tied up the game for Monterrey in the 2-2, there was an offside shout. I think Berterame scored. But, I mean, there's just so much inconsistency with the offside rule right now. I don't know. I mean, we can discuss that. You guys let me know whether that second goal, whether Berterame's goal was offside or not. We're going to have to talk about that because there was another similar moment in this next match, Cruz Azul versus America, where they won, where Cruz Azul gets their first win in the Clásico Joven in years, honestly. I think it's been, I remember the last time Cruz Azul beat America in such convincing manner, too. The fact they beat them 4-1, literally smashing them into the dirt. That's normally things that you see from America to Cruz Azul, and I'm sorry to Cruz Azul fans, but it's the truth. America have just teared them apart. I don't even think it's considered a Clásico in this moment because of how many times America have won in the past decade. America was the better team. At least those first 45, they looked the better team. They looked like they were actually playing a Clásico, where Cruz Azul just looked kind of passive aggressive, not really too focused into the match. They didn't really seem like they were going to get off onto a good start, and that's how I started off. I mean, I think um, America were the one that opened up the goal, and while it was controversial, offside or not, Brian Rodriguez has to score in that position. He does. Now, let me know down in the comments down below if it was a offside or not. From my eyes, from what I see, it's very, very narrow. It's so hard to determine. I don't think it was offside, but I could be wrong. You guys let me know down in the comments. Diego Valdez picking up an injury just doesn't stop with him. He just doesn't look good at the moment, and it didn't look good for America at that moment specifically because when you lose your creative outlet in Diego Valdez, who hasn't been performing well, we all know that he hasn't done well since his last injury. I think this is the moment where Cruz Azul grew in confidence. They saw, okay, they're attacking. Their main attacking player in Diego Valdez is gone. He's not going to be playing. He's not going to attack us. He's not going to hurt us. This is where Cruz Azul, they stepped up. They stepped up their game. They got 2 goals within a few minutes before the end of the second half. I mean, before the end of the first half. And I mean, I don't want to say it was raps, but the confidence was there. They were flying. They were sky high. And then 3-1 came, and then the 4-1 came in the second half, and it was over at that point. From an America standpoint, there was nothing you could do. You just wanted the game to end. And I mean, good for Cruz Azul, who were temporarily top of the table. They finally get their win against America after losing years in the Clásico Joven, especially in the finals. And I'm sorry to remind Cruz Azul fans, but it literally just happened a few months back. So, but from an America standpoint, what does this mean for Jardine? Does this raise the alarms? Is this the moment to panic? Henry Martin came out to the press and he said that because it's America, there is that media alert, that media panic that they should be panicking, but within the dressing room, they don't feel that way. So honestly, I don't know. To me, I think they just need a break. So this international break will be good for some of the players, maybe good for Jardine, refresh some ideas, because the players seem like they lack energy coming in from the Copa America. Some of them playing important minutes with their team. They just need to focus and find that motivation to win. And I know it's very difficult. I mean, even look to the likes of comparing them to Man City in the Premier League. That's one of the main things when it comes to constantly winning championships. It's finding the motivation within the players, within yourself, to win it again and win again. And it's now their 3rd season where they can win a tricampeonato and be probably one of the first teams to ever do so. Not only no other team has done it, and we're seeing why it's so hard to be consistent, but it's also so hard to find motivation within yourself to keep winning, because at some point you just get complacent, you get overconfident, and I think that's what's happening with America. Either they're overconfident or they need some rest, they need some serious time off. The next match is going to be another Clásico versus Chivas, who just won 5-0. So we'll see how America fare in that game. I think it's going to be a very difficult game for them. Um, but that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that next week. And then lastly, wrapping up the Liga MX, let's go to Pumas versus Tigres, staying within the capital of the state of the country. Sorry, staying within the capital of the country. We go to Pumas versus Tigres, where Tigres ball up in convincing fashion, and that's really what they do. That's the way this team performs under Paunovic. They've been doing pretty well, and it was quite surprising not to see the likes of Sebastian Cordova in the starting lineup, who has been starting, I mean, here and there for Paunovic. Marcelo Flores, I don't know if he came on or not. I don't remember. I don't think he came on. Antuna did come in, and Linus was in as well. Man Memote on the bench. So three players that were recently called up by Javier Aguirre, not getting any minutes whatsoever. But that's not the point. The point is that Tigres were the first ones to get to concede, and it was from Chino Huerta. Chino Huerta, who was called up, he performed quite well from a Puma standpoint. I think he was the only player that really looked different. He gets a clever ball from Piero Quispe, who threads it right into Chino Huerta's run. He takes a shot. Tapia leaves it bouncing. Tapia, unfortunately for him, he's just not convincing in net. I think Nahuel Guzman comes back next week, so it's going to be good for Tigres. He has so much more experience, and I think he adds a little bit more stability at the back for Tigres specifically. But going back to the play, going back to this goal from Pumas, the only goal from Pumas, Chino Huerta gets the ball back from Tapia. He threads it, or he drills it back into the middle, squares it for Funes Mori, who puts it away into an empty net, and everything's good in Pumas land. The fans are happy. Everything is quite well until it isn't, and then Tigres start to find their momentum, their rhythm. They're just all over this Pumas team, who really couldn't escape. They were suffocating under this pressure from Tigres, under this possession from Tigres, who weren't giving up the ball at all. I don't think we saw another Pumas chance after that, to be honest. Not that I can remember from the top of my head. It was pretty much all Tigres from there. They got the two goals pretty much back to back from Goriaran, who dribbles into the box, cuts in behind, gets brought down, and then Osiel Herrera steps up. He gets his goal. He's kind of surprised. I'm kind of surprised that Javier Aguirre hasn't called up, or he hasn't been called up at all in any of the recent call ups for any of these coaches, because he's starting. He's getting his numbers. He's getting goals. He bagged his goal today. I think he bagged two specifically, the first and the third. So Osiel Herrera, one to definitely look out for. But Goriaran, oh my God, I'm sorry. Goriaran, he was the one that probably was the player of the game for the way he performed throughout the match, not just scoring goals, but I mean, and specifically this goal, right? The one that he shoots from 30 yards out, putting it top right hand corner, where Julio Gonzalez, I don't think any keeper in the world is reaching. I mean, a deserved 2-1. And at the end of the game, oh my God, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm just tripping up. It's been a long episode. At the end, it's pretty much wraps for Tigres. I mean, I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if it's going to be enough for them to be considered favorites of the league. I think an institution like Tigres, they're always going to be considered favorites, but there are a few teams that are playing just slightly better football. We saw Chivas come into Tigres' territory and tie. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with this Tigres team moving deeper into the end of the season. And I kind of feel for Pumas fans in general. I think before Leagues Cup, they were doing quite well. We're undefeated. We're second in the table, starting off well in Liga MX. Then the Leagues Cup happened. So that's where I think their form started to dip. They got some losses, and now it's been 3 games in a row without a win. So it's unfortunate for Pumas fans. But overall, that pretty much wraps up the big teams and the big games in Liga MX. Make sure you guys stay tuned for my next video, which I'll probably put out the day after this one drops. Regarding Road to 2026 from a Mexican standpoint. So some of the players that I've already mentioned, I'm going to be talking about them, go a little bit more in depth on their performances, the players in Europe as well. But make sure you guys like, subscribe, check out all the other videos. and support your small creators, because together we're going to make it big. I hope you guys appreciate the camera and the new backdrop, adding a little bit more sazon into the pod. So again, thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys on the next one.